And today with me in the studio, I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing my good friend, John Addis. John, good morning to you. It's great to have you with us on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Privilege is mine.
Thank you so much. John, you know, our story goes back a couple of years now when you helped to run a syntropic agriculture seminar.
I think
here.
It's probably more like 4 years.
4 years,
Yeah,
4 years back now.
I think so.
Yeah. And look, I learned so much. My mind was absolutely exploding with everything that I'm learning.
I remember.
And I said, look, I need to get John to talk to us on the radio about, you know, what is like syntropics, how did God design a forest to work, and what are the mechanisms that exist there, and how can we apply that? And I think that time that we had together really started helped me to start a love for agriculture and gardening. And I'm not the greatest practitioner at all, but I certainly an enthusiast. But also, I wanted to get to know a little bit of the story of the John behind the farmer, the John behind the agricultural expert, and a little bit about how you came to Christ, how Jesus made an appearance into your life, and the events that led to that and around that as well. So why don't we start just you telling us a little bit about where you come from, tell us a little bit about your family, just so we have an idea of who you are.
Okay. I came out to Australia in 1994 from England. Took myself out here. I was probably around the age of 20, 21 at that time. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I just ended up in Australia. I had my tickets and my visas, and I was like, I don't want to go back to England. I've got that feeling someone's calling me over here. So eventually I got sponsorship and my residency in this country, and then citizenship, and that all took place as being a chef. So I got into being a chef in this country. Vegan chef. I worked at
vegan chef.
Yeah,
wow.
At a place called Macro Whole Foods.
But that's back in the 1990s. That was like so rare because
it's true.
Veganism, it was a byword by then. Really, like nobody really. It was just a very rare thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not that popular.
Well, I practiced vegetarianism.
Yeah.
And the vegan thing was great, and it was a very popular. It was Whole Foods shop, organic Whole Foods shop.
Where was that?
Bondi Junction.
Okay.
Bondi.
So you're right at the heart of Sydney.
Yeah, what a privilege, what a blessing. Because I was just passionate about food. And that's kind of where it blends into, growing food. I was really passionate about food, and I was passionate about cooking and learning. And one of the chefs there, Craig Donovan, you may hear this. He was great. He was just at the forefront of that cooking. He'd worked in a place called Iku, other places where they'd learned how to do vegan cooking, and he taught me so much, and other people around me taught me so much, and I worked there for 4 years solidly.
All right. And during that time, were you already a follower of Jesus?
No, not at all. That's going way back. So after that time, I think, it took a long time. I've been through a few heartaches, a few broken relationships, some tough stuff going on, but eventually... how would you, just before you move into that part, so how would you describe your spirituality back in the days? Like, were your interest for vegan food connected to some spiritual ideas? I think the body as a temple, yes, but not as a God that I know now. So back then I was searching, constantly searching.
Okay.
I look back in my life, I was searching. I wanted a God. I wanted something in my life. I remember being empty. I remember searching. I remember having days of just wandering around looking. Just searching. And I was lost, very, very lost at that particular time in my life. There were some Hare Krishna people sometimes would stop by, and I'd be sitting down on the grass in the park, and they'd, hey man, what's up? And can I help you? And they talked to me about the faith, and I'd maybe look into it a little bit, and I got books on different people's faiths, and it was a challenge. And I would read these things, and I'd put them down. I go, this is great. And then I'm like, it's just not working. And I couldn't read it anymore because... It doesn't matter how much you read. If it doesn't have a practical application in your life, it's doing nothing.
Okay, so you're reading, you're seeking, but at the same time, you really couldn't see how all of that would fit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
into your life.
It just didn't fit.
Wow.
Like, it just didn't.
Yeah,
fit.
it didn't fit.
It just didn't fit. And that's right. So skipping forward from there, I think that was a pretty. The place I worked at was a great social body. That was one aspect that really kept me healthy, and the food was healthy. But I didn't have my faith at that time. So continuing on. Went through a few hard times. I'm also a dancer, so I was a dancer, and we were practicing dance a lot. And I was running a dance class, or was part of a dance class that a girl turned up to.
Any particular style of dance?
Yeah, a contact improvisation.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the teachers was Alejandro Rolandi. He might know, if he hears this, he'll know who he is. Great teacher, really lovely. And I started running my own classes, but along came a girl, and later became my wife.
Wow. Okay. So there's a love story there involved. So you met her at the dance class.
That's right.
And what impacts? What more? What did she bring to your life?
Yeah.
As part of that relationship.
So Amanda came to the class. She was studying at that time dance movement therapy at a Christian college in Sydney. Now, she'd grown up herself as an Adventist, and she'd been through a couple of Adventist schools. But her mother's recently died a year ago. And her mother was introduced to Adventism early, but due to her health and certain problems, she couldn't continually go to church. But she did have that basis of the faith, and she's a very loving woman, a very godly woman. And so she left that with my wife. My wife's name's Amanda. And Amanda kept it in her without me really knowing about it. Sure, I heard about it, but then it wasn't until we had children, and we're skipping forward now from 94 to 2015. We're skipping a lot there.
Okay, wow. That's like 21 years, if my mathematics is not broken.
That's right. That's something like that. So I would have met Amanda a little bit later. We've been together for 20 years. Skipping forward. And we had children. That was the major thing, which kind of started this all roller coaster, as they do for so many of us. And she said, I really want the best for my children. I want them to go to a good school. And it just so happens that the school in the local area that we now lived, we moved out, we were in Sydney at the time. We moved from Sydney to Murwillumbah area. We have a nice property up there in the hills where we can practice growing and farming. And my wife said, I want to give my children a good start. I know what schools are like. I want to give them a really solid education. We're not too concerned about intellectual education or academic. Of course, it's important, but we want my children to be cared for and looked after.
You want them to develop their character above everything.
Their character, yeah, that's right. And now we know that as practicing Christians. So my wife enrolled them in the Tweed Valley Adventist College. So this is a great story. My wife called the college, and she goes, I want to enroll my children in the school. Oh, that's fine. So how old are they? Oh, they're not born yet. There's a silence. Okay, yeah, sure. We'll send a pack out to you. So send a pack out, and sure enough, we have had two children. We have Matthias, he's 9 years old, and Grace, she's 7 years old. And they both end up going to the school, and it has been an absolute blessing. Absolute blessing. So there's a big shout out to TVAC and All Adventist Education.
So within all of that, you didn't really know much about your wife's, the faith that she grew up with.
Yeah. No.
And you just knew that there's like this Adventist school that sounded really, really good.
That's right.
And when that connection happened between you and Jesus, like who introduced you to Jesus? How it happened that you were...
the school, I mean, we went to the school, and the school is intimately connected through its ties, through its teachers, through its music, to the school. So the students are coming from the school, they're at the church, they're singing. The teachers they're not pastors, they're elders, and some of the pastors are also bypassed and all of they're partly working in the school as well as in the church, as Pastor Boris Joganov was. And so you get to be a part of it. And then we went, okay, well, let's go to church. And I went to church for the first time with my wife, and I sat at the back watching.
Before you tell me that, just going back a little bit, did you know about Jesus before? Have you heard about Jesus
absolutely.
before? But what was Jesus to you in your mind, like prior to all of this? Like, how did you see him?
I've never thought about that, Joseph. He was, I can't put a word on really. He was someone special. He was, I've been through religious studies in school, and I remember watching the sacrifice at the cross and crying. I remember visibly crying in school, just torn. How could someone do this? This was destroying me to watch these things. I stopped watching it. And my classmates are like, he's crying again. I'm like, hey, how can you not cry? That's horrendous. And the way they portray it, this is a horrible thing. So obviously this is a great man who suffered. And I'd heard these things, he suffered for our sins and blah, but I didn't know really what that meant, at all. And I'm still getting to grips with what that really means. But I knew he was someone great. I knew he was connected to God. I knew he had great wisdom, and I probably knew in some way he was a prophet. And that was about it.
Okay. Yeah. So now you're coming to the church, and what is changing? Is there any particular moment perhaps or a process of time when things started to change in your mind regarding to how you regarded Jesus?
Absolutely. So I sat at the back of that church, and my wife, this is a great one, another story, she put in a prayer request. You can put in prayer requests. You can write a request on a piece of paper, put in an envelope, and it goes. And we have prayer meetings should be Tuesday morning or Wednesday night, whatever. I think it was a Tuesday morning. And she put the prayer request in, and everyone prayed. The prayer request was like, I don't know if my husband will accept us going to church. Please, God, can you help us? Please pray for him. And that night or that morning or sometime in the future, I had a prayer, and everybody in the church was praying for me, these people, and particularly some people that I knew, because I didn't know many people, only been once or twice. I saw them in my prayer, and they were praying for me. Now, I got up in the morning, and I spoke to my wife. I said, I had this strange dream last night. And now I didn't know she'd put this prayer request in, right? That was a secret thing. That was a personal thing. And I said, I had this thing, and I saw this guy, and Nigel, and a friend of ours was praying, and he was really praying for me. And I remember vividly the church and the colors. And she kind of was a bit shy, and she goes, oh, yeah. I said, what? She said, I put in a prayer request. I was like, what does that mean? And she told me what it is. And this is, I've told you. And I was like, wow. That's pretty special. So we continued to attend church, and I just remember feeling very comfortable at the back to the point. And then one day a sermon was preached, and I was like, wow, that's a powerful sermon. And Paul Fua did that sermon, actually. It was a rare time when he did those back then.
So Paul Fua was at the time the principal.
That's correct, yeah.
At this,
but also had was playing a large role in the church.
In the church, okay.
Yeah. And he did the sermon, and I came out, I was like, wow. And I bumped into someone else who I was befriended in the church, and he goes, I said, he goes, have you done Bible studies before? I was like, no. Let's do them. Do you want to do them? And I said, yes, please, let's go and do it. And so he took me on a Bible study journey with him and the pastor at the time, Ashley Smith, and we went through a journey together. And that's when I got to know what the church is all about.
And as you were reading in the Bible and so on, what are some of the things that you're discovering, and how are they, what did they change in your life from that point?
It's a massive change. I think, finding out who Jesus is probably paramount. But all the things around that, like what the Bible says about death, that's a really poignant thing in the world that we live in. How they describe death is, or how we believe death to be. So many different versions. We'll have a second life, or be resurrected, or just nothing. We're just going to die. We have no idea what we're going to do. The Bible really goes through clearly, what it is. And some of these things are shocking. They're shocking truths. And I think the biggest one that seeps into my mind now is that we will have an opportunity for a second life. In this world, but in heaven. That's a bit more complex. We can go into that another time and with other listeners with other speakers.
But God is a God of second chances.
Yeah.
He's a God that forgives us.
That's true.
And he gives us, he makes us new creatures, and he gives us second, third, fourth chances if we
God
need.
of mercy, new mercies every morning.
And as you said, this life here is but the prelude of the real life that he has.
Well, this is the one where we really have to bind our faith to him, and that's when we can have that opportunity, to get to know him. He's not someone who's like, you don't believe in me, you're going to have a bad life. No, it's personal choice. It's our choice to make a choice to follow him. And to follow the laws that he has set before us, laws of love.
So what do you think was that which make you say, you know what, I am just curious or interested about Jesus I am actually wanting to follow Jesus and give my heart to him? What compelled you to, was it the Bible studies? Was it just like seeing a picture of Jesus? Tell me, what was that evidence that made you want to say, you know what, I want to follow this Jesus?
Okay, so Bible studies have a major part to play in it. You can turn up at a church and you can get the vibes, and you can really, being in the church and the camaraderie and the friendliness and the openness of the people, that is obviously a huge part in staying there. They were very hospitable, they were curious, they were friendly. There's lunches.
A great place to be.
Yeah. Vegetarian, great lunches to have, food to eat, and people to talk to. In this world, it's getting more and more challenging, and we'd moved to the area and fairly new in the last some years. And
but that's not enough to make a commitment of your entire life to God, right? Look, you don't go like to a nice shopping center and say, you know what, I'm gonna be like a volunteer of that shopping center. There's what was that thing that you attribute to that made you, say, you know what, I just want Jesus to my life.
I couldn't say it'd be one point exactly, and
Okay.
it's still growing. It's still a growing thing. Every day you're finding new things. But that point, it was a combination. Friendly people, nice church, my wife inviting me, Bible study. Now, the person that I did the Bible study, here's the key. He, as we say a lot in the Venice people, we are the hands and feet of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So we're following his ways and we're doing what he wants us to do in this world and what he did in this world to people, healing people, caring for people, loving people, showing people the way that they can have a good and fulfilling life now and in the life to come. And so this one person who did the Bible studies with me, Clint Hollingsworth, Western Australia, he'll be very embarrassed if he hears his name. He's very modest. And, he did the Bible studies with me, and I grew to find out who he was. And if I didn't have time to do that Bible study, he would turn up and help me. Like I was building a house at the time, he'd turn up and help me build this house, and he had a good knowledge on it. And he was with me through that journey, and he would reassure me. He brought things to me. He fixed my mower for me. And this was a privilege for him to do. He would freely do it, and he would give things to you. And I was like, this is not normal. This has never happened before. I'm always wary of people, and I've got to be careful. Of course, I love to share with people, but the world is encroaching and stopping us from doing that sort of things. And he was just a light, a beacon. And I was like, okay, he is portraying who Jesus was and who he is in his life.